a couple of questions for Daniel Cormier. Daniel, you've previously said that you need to win convincingly in order to kind of erase the memories of your fight with John Jones. Is that still the case for you?
Yeah, I mean, my career is so closely tied to those fights that I do need to win in dominant fashion. More so this time because of what happened in the last fight. But my goal is always to go out and dominate, and that's what I've done for the vast majority of my career. So nothing's really changed. The only pressure comes from what I'm putting on myself because of the way the last fight ended.
Right, and Volkan, much like Ngannou, had a breakout year in 2017. You've taken punches from someone like Rumble. Do you think the fans give too much respect to the power punches?
I think people fall in love with power punchers, and it's I believe it's just because they're exciting, right? They finish the fight. They finish fights in no time. You could be the fight's going, and all of a sudden it's over. You got guys like Rumble that was just knocking everybody out. You got guys that like Volkan, and they just knock everybody out. So people fall in love with them, but it's not just about punching hard. This game is about much more. It's about what you have up top, mentally, all around mixed martial arts game, experience. I always say, whether I'm at the commentary booth, host table or something, or just on these calls, that there are levels to this game. And when a person isn't on the level, they get exposed very quickly. And I think that Volkan's a fantastic fighter. I believe he believes in himself and believes in his power. But to beat me, just being a powerful guy ain't going to be enough.
Right, and final question for you. The one cloud that keeps, hanging over your head is obviously your fights with John Jones. Going to the fight, we've recently even heard about, speculations regarding when John is going to return. Does that play any factor going into the fight for you?
No. I don't really worry too much about anything but the person that's in front of me. Volkan Oezdemir, I respect enough to focus on him entirely. I respect him enough to focus entirely on him and him be my obsession. I'm obsessed with this young man right now. Obsessed with coming up with a game plan and a fight strategy to go out there and beat him convincingly. So, yeah, I don't worry too much about Jones right now. He's ineligible, as he was for the last couple of years before the last fight.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate the time and all the very best for the upcoming fights.
Hey, Daniel, I got one for you. I know you spent some time with Stipe in Cleveland. I'm wondering what that experience was like. I mean, you probably got to know him better than maybe you had in the past. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, it was amazing. To go there and be in his environment and kind of take in the feel of the city, right? Cleveland's such a big sports city. And walking around with Stipe, you saw that he's not only a fighter anymore, he's almost like another major league sports team in that city because people just recognize him. And they love what he brings to the city of Cleveland. Stipe, he's a fantastic guy, great champion, does things in the community that a lot of people don't even know. And it was great to spend the day with him and learn more about Stipe and kind of dig into his mentality. I was, from when we were filming to when we were driving and sometimes not on camera, just kind of really trying to get into his mindset and his mentality as he was preparing for the next few challenges in his heavyweight title reign. And what I learned was that this is a man that truly believes that he's the baddest man on the planet. So when I listened to him and Francis talk, and Francis has a lot of conviction in his speak because he believes that he's going to go out there and dominate, as I've spent time with Francis too. But I know, even though Stipe doesn't say it, in his mind he feels the same exact way because he said it off camera to me. He said it on camera. and he believes he's going to dominate this fight. You know, right before I left, Stipe said they could put King Kong in there with me, and I'll beat him to become the most successful heavyweight champ of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if there's anybody that's been as scary as a huge, power-punching, dominant force like that, it would be Francis Ngannou. So he kind of got the toughest situation for him, and I don't believe that he would have it any other way. So I learned more about his mentality. His mentality tells me that on January 20th, there's going to be a barn burner between him and Francis.
Last thing, Daniel. You know, being a champion, do you sort of have to get used to that moniker? And I'm wondering, do you feel like a guy like Stipe has kind of grown into that you know, that pressure? You know, there's pressure being a champion. I'm sure you know that. And in terms of growing into that, you know, responsibility, I guess, so to speak.
There is responsibility. The responsibility comes when you're successful, right? People don't. When there's expectation, there is no expectation without success. So in order to be in a situation where there's pressure, where there's responsibility, where there's expectation, you have to be successful. And with the success comes expectation. You got to really turn into it. You can't run away from it. And I do believe that he's grown into the expectation. He's turning into the expectation. He's looking into the expectation. The idea that he's the baddest man on the planet. He said he does not need monikers. You know, he does not need to be called the baddest man on the planet. But I think even though it's not spoken, he does believe that he's the baddest man. But Stipe never really had any issues. You know, it's not like he truly needed to grow much in order to carry the flag of the UFC Heavyweight Championship. He just had to get the belt. And he did that, and I think he's done a phenomenal job of representing the organization, himself, and his family in the best way possible.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Next question comes from Spencer Kite with UFC.com.
My first one is for Volkan. What does it mean to you? What's your response when you hear Daniel Cormier say that he respects you, that he is obsessed with you, but also that you are not on his level?
I mean, it's good because I can see that he cares about it. He cares about the fight, and the only thing I want from him is to bring his best game, to bring his top game, because this is the fight to determine who's going to be the champion of the world. So what I want to have, you know, facing me is the best. Is the best Daniel and the best fighter in the world right now. So that's the one I want to beat, but also the difference is I'm the new level, so we're going to find out next Saturday.
And I know when we spoke in the summer, you had said that your goal was to become the fastest UFC champion in history. You're getting this opportunity. It'll be just short of a year since your UFC debut. What would it mean to actually accomplish that? Having the goal is one thing, but making it happen is another one. Can you put into words what that would be like for you?
It's a process. So that was my number one goal since I signed with the UFC, to be the fastest rising to the belt, and now it's just about grabbing it, accomplishing that goal, and there is only one step left, and it's to knock out Daniel Cormier.
And now one for Daniel, if I could. DC, you mentioned earlier that you feel added pressure going into this because of how the last fight with John went. It seems like here we are again, another year, another title defense coming up, and those same questions. Do you feel a responsibility or a desire to kind of really make a point and make a statement this year defending this belt?
I think that's always the goal, right? Like, I mean, from every time I've stepped into the octagon, I feel like I need to make a statement. There's like a certain thing to me that for some reason people see these guys as true threats to me, and that they can just beat me, you know, and it's always fun to go out and prove people wrong. I mean, in the fights with Anthony Johnson, both times I went in there as the underdog because he knocked some guys out. That shouldn't warrant a person being favored to win a fight because they can knock somebody out. You know, you got to look at a guy's entire body of work, you know. So when I went into the last fight as the underdog, even though I was the champion, that's fine. I get it, because when you look at Jones's body of work you see a guy that can compete and win at the highest levels. But when I look at guys like Anthony Johnson and Volkan Oezdemir and those guys, and people to think that they're going to just beat me, to me it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I really do feel pressure because I want pressure, but I just like really making people kind of go, well, I guess he wasn't the guy that was going to knock DC out. That's always fun to me. Kind of just stick it to people.
Is there any way for you to not escape John's shadow, but to move on past that rivalry and really solidify your standings? Or is that always going to be the little asterisk that you have to deal with?
That's just me. That's my cross to bear, right? I didn't get the job done. If I would have won those fights, then it wouldn't have mattered all those out of the octagon issues. Because I lost, I've got to carry that burden. That's for me to carry. I can't look to escape that, and I'm not trying to. All I do is try to make that motivate me to be better today than I was July 29th, April 10th when I fought Anthony or whatever, and every other day I fought. You know, every battle, every fight, every high-level competition I've been in has to make me better. And I think they do. You know, so I lost that fight on July 29th, but I thought I was the best fighter that I've ever been when I stepped to that octagon. And the guy that stepped into the octagon on July 29th could not lose a mixed martial arts competition of Volkan Oezdemir. It's just the truth.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Next question comes from Jeffrey Harris with 411 Mania.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. First question for Daniel. Is there any concern at all that, you know, the legal issues going on with Volkan Oezdemir could be a distraction for him, and that could come into play for discussion after the fight?
But that's on him, right? Like, if everything goes according to my plan, what does it matter to me if after I beat him, if he goes to jail? That doesn't affect me. Why should I worry about the issues that this guy has gotten himself into? This has nothing to do with me. All I cared about was that whenever he went to court the other day, they said he could go fight. He can go fight. So now my issues, my worry, my concern, my care in regards to his legal issues are out the window, because everything that's going to happen to him after is past January 20th. I just need to be in Boston January 20th. He's going to be there, so I could care less what happens to him afterwards.
Volkan, on your part, has this been a problem for you? Because I mean, this is the biggest fight of your career. It's a UFC title opportunity. I mean, these don't come along every day. So, has this been a big distraction for you going into the fight?
Not at all. I'm not even taking care of that business. The only thing I'm doing right now is training and being ready for that fight. So my lawyer is taking care of all the legal stuff, so nothing goes through me. And I'm just getting ready for the fight, and I'm really confident because of you know what I know I did, and so it's all good. So my priority and the only things I focus on right now is the fight.